Hey, it's MK, and I am here with a mixed media mayhem recipe that was chosen by our very own Rebecca Lockhart. I am also mixing this up with Baby Got Scraps. So here's what I have for you guys. I'm going to be using this Vicky Bouton gold glaze, and then I want to put this stencil along with it. It's from Pear Tree Cut Files is where this stencil is from, and that's the tool that I plan on using. I also have a lot of bits and pieces from the Some Assemblage Required little tray that I was trying to empty out. So I have a few I can't remember what the patriotic words were called, but I think that's what they were called. I have postage signs from September, and then the hiking icons. I also have this Get Wild wood round. That was from the December box. And actually, I don't think these are the hiking icons. I think these are also the wood pieces from the September box. So all of those came from the September box. And then my sequins mix was made for me and gifted to me. So I'm going to be giving that a go and trying to destash that. But I think it is pretty cool. It's got some really cool sequins inside there. This is another 6x8 page from Tim Holtz. Apparently, I already picked out another stencil from Dusty Attic, so I'll just use two. It'll be okay. This one here is from Close to My Heart, from a kit that they offered during the National Scrapbook Day. This is a Minte wood round piece, but I can't remember the collection. I plan on fussy cutting out all the wood grain, as well as this cocoa vanilla piece. I plan on fussy cutting out all of those butterflies, and I want them to match 1 for 1, so a butterfly for a wood round. So whatever I don't use, I'll use the backside of that piece of paper. All right, so the first thing I'm going to be doing is cutting all of my scraps down into 3x3s. So the first two scraps, the last two scraps, the wood rounds and the butterflies, all got fussy cut. They're all right above me. And now I'm just taking the other pieces and turning them into 3x3 base cards, so that way I can start clusters. Now I plan on doing a huge cluster set. It was a little bit larger than I anticipated, so this video does become quite large. I apologize about that. So for my 12x12 piece of paper, which doesn't actually turn out to be 12x12, but it was when I first started, it's just they don't like to rip out of that little packaging very well. So some of it got ripped out, but I'm using this cork. Now it is red on the other side. I'm ignoring that. I just wanted the natural cork, which is on the base side, the back side. Thank goodness that those colorful pieces aren't colored all the way through, and I'm able to, use one side, one of the color pieces, but I don't need 4 to be that color, unless by chance I happen to get a project that does that. Okay, so clearly I have way more tree rings and butterflies than I do these 3x3 cards. I just have way too much. So eventually I'm going to be doing something different with the tree rounds and the extra butterflies, but I do kind of see how many clusters they make without a 3x3 base to them. Which you'll see later once I actually get to that part. But when I work on a lot of clusters all in one, and I'm just trying to use up my scraps, I work in bulk. And so I do one step at a time. I did all the fussy cutting. I did all the preparation work. Now I'm doing all the stenciling. So I just did half of my cards in the postcard. I just didn't I didn't show all of them for you guys because it was just going to be too long of a video. I mean, it's already 35 minutes long, and if I would have left all the stenciling in, it would have been even longer. So I split them up. I did footprints on one half and postcards on the other half. And now I'm taking all of my tree rings. Now, the first thing I did was took all of my bigger tree rings and tried to match them up with these 3x3 cards. Then I realized that it was going to be too big and take up more of the stenciling that I wanted to. So I'm going back through and replacing the larger ones with the smaller ones. And this is where I got the idea, well, maybe I can use the smaller one or the larger ones as their own little clusters with the butterflies. So I did that. And by the way, I fussy cut the butterflies. My children, two of my children actually fussy cut out these tree rings for me. So just to let you guys know. I had to give credit where credit was due. They cut my fussy cutting in half. It was great. So once I put a butterfly on each little cluster, I'm going to go through all of my acrylic pieces and my wood grain pieces and make sure that I divvy them up and put them where they are. Some of them got two because I just felt like they made sense, and some of them ended up with just the one piece. And then I have this little tray of little goodies that I kept finding in my scrap box while I'm reorganizing that. So I've got all these really cool trees that I tried to bring in for my last clusters, and they didn't end up working, or I think I brought them in for a layout, to be honest, and they didn't end up working. So I brought them into this one to see if I could get them to work, since this is an outdoor theme little cluster set. And then I also had some more wood pieces that were actually on the broken side. And I thought, you know what, that's perfect because I need them smaller anyways. And then in my scraps, I had that butterfly paper from the Lakeside collection. I went ahead and flipped it over and found that I had a couple useful 3x4 cards on it. So I fussy cut out those 3x4 cards as well. So now that I have all of my pieces sorted out, divvied out, and a good starting piece, I took the rest of my butterfly paper and took one of the cards, which was a green, it had a green background to it, and went ahead and cut out 3 by, I don't know, half-inch strips, and then one is like a 3 by, I don't know, a little shy of a 3/4 inch. So maybe 5/8. And then this is the back side of the butterfly paper that I am just cutting in half-inch strips. So I cut it down to 3 inches because that's what size my card is. And now I'm cutting them down into half-inch. So I'll be able to get a good little piece of contrasting paper on almost all of my 3x3 squares. So I'm glad that it worked out this way. I still had 2 rows of butterflies to fussy cut out, but one, they're pink, and I don't know what to do with that many butterflies. I really wanted a 1-for-1 butterfly and tree ring. It is what I was really, truly going for. And as you can see over on the side, I do have a butterfly up on a larger tree ring. So that way I can see what I can do with those later, but they're not going to be in this video because this video ended up being a lot longer than I thought I did. I had no clue that it took this long to do this video, to be honest. I mean, in all honesty, I was having so much fun making these clusters that I just honestly did not pay attention to how long it took me. I seriously had no clue. So I'm taking my scraps again. I've got this wood grain scrap. I used a larger portion, a 4x, I think it's 2 piece. Over on the bottom right, I had a cluster built, but then I took the rest and decided to divvy it up because it's all about the scraps. Some of these things that I did put on my clusters, I don't end up using. Some of my wood rounds end up being too big and I don't end up using. And then of course, as I work on all of my clusters one by one, now that I've got all the elements for that cluster, I switch things around. I have other options sitting over on my right, but I'm trying not to use them unless I have to. And then as I go, when I realize, oh, I'm not going to use that piece, I'll put it over here and maybe I can utilize it on a different piece. So that's how this is going to work. I do try to cut out a lot because I use my fingers to scuff up the edges on almost every single piece of paper, and that can get repetitive, but in the process, I didn't want to skip showing you guys how I put all these little pieces together. The sequins are staticky, so every now and then I'm flicking my fingers so that way I can get them off, because it was annoying. I was like, I couldn't get it off and I couldn't move forward unless I got the sequin off my finger. So finally got that under control. and made my first little layout. Now, what I did basically was I put all of them in front of me, and I'm just working on all the ones on the left first, and then I'll work on all the ones on the right. I couldn't remember how many I actually have to do. Let me look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 24 of them, maybe. I think if I count roughly 24, 27, somewhere in there, that I am going to be making, and they're super quick, super fast. I did go through all of my sticker word bits, and picked out a word for each one as well. Unless it already had a word on it, like the very first one was that fussy cutout piece from the 3x4 card. So I didn't do a tiny word sticker on that. I also cut that out because I had to go through and read and reread, and it was very, very long, a very long part of this process. So, and when it came to adding these trees, some of them I did not feel like they needed a wood round, in all honesty, because the wood round ends up covering up most of the tree. And so I decide that I'm not going to be using it. In this instance, I went ahead and I used one because I really liked the border that it was creating, the tree tucking out on the side. And I think what helped that one was the extra little scrap that I used, for my border piece. So I mean, it's honestly just taking what you have for your scraps and throwing them together. I love dividing and conquering. It's a lot of prep work up front, but if you just have a bunch of little piles and then you start with just one 3x3 square, in all honesty, you'll have to go through that pile. What did I say? 27 times, each time looking for what you thought you were looking for. And then you turn around and go, oh, dang, I already used that piece, and you didn't get to kind of see it put together as you were divvying out your stuff. So if you divvy out what you've got, then you can kind of quickly see whether or not it works, instead of keeping everything in little trays and then trying to bring them in as you create. It's just, well, for one, I think it's a faster process, even though this was a very long video. It is a faster process. It's a lot of work up front, but in the end, you get to see what everything looks like when they work together. And I don't even think about it, in all honesty, you guys. It's a quickie, really. You've got 3x3 pieces. I always kind of start with 3x3. One of the things that I like about the 3x3 is that it snugs in to a 4x6 or even a 4x4 nicely, if those are your standard sized photos that you use. Those are the standard photos that I use, and you don't want to create something that's going to be larger than your normal photos that you use. So if you're a small photo creator, if you use a lot of small photos with your scrapbooking, then you probably don't want to use a 3x3, because then it'll be bigger than your photos. That's one of the things that I have noticed. And so when I go to figure out what I'm going to do with my extra tree rings and butterflies, those would be used for the smaller photos, because they're a lot smaller of a cluster. So here's one where I have a couple broken delicate fronds, is what these were called. And some of them broke. I kept them around. I sprayed them to see how the spray soaked into the wood. I mean, I use some of my broken pieces as test pieces. So when I am asked, how do you color this? How do you work with that? How do you change this? Which I'm asked quite often. When I am asked those questions, I've already tested out a piece, and I can send that example to them so they know what it looks like. Sometimes when it's a very porous surface like chipboard or even wood, and you spray it, sometimes it'll soak in that color and not become the color that you want. Well, the good thing about these pieces is that they're a very light wood color, and so when you spray them, it stays pretty true to color. It does get a little darker on the other side, but they stay pretty true to color. And I really did like that. I usually paint pen them. I don't usually use the sprays with them. So this one here is a delicate floral piece that was all broke up before. So these ones here were my test pieces. How small can I go before they start breaking off? Well, in the end, because of the type of embellishment that I'm making, I didn't really like the flowers, especially when it kind of made it a little bit too long for my piece and what I was trying to work with. So I went ahead and I just used my scissors because, again, it's super thin wood. So I'm not really worried about, about it breaking in the wrong spot. I just use my scissors and it trims it off. I felt like a florist there for a second. And yeah, it's just really cool. And of course, it makes the project go by faster when it's sticky backed. So I love that part of it too. And then these longer word stickers, I went ahead and I cut down into 2 to 3 pieces. Some of these 3x3 squares, I forget to do the sequins. So I'm trying to pull the sequins out before I put it away, because I think on the first couple I forgot the sequins part. Whoops, sorry. But then I got better the more I went along, because that's part of the recipe that Rebecca had picked out. She picked out texture paste, sequins, and paper scraps. And so I texture pasted the base of all of my 3x3s. Now this one here, you can't really see it, but when you see it in person, you can. So I texture pasted all of my bases, and then I'm using sequins on all of them. I don't use up the whole bag, which is fine, but I do end up using a good portion of them. I mean, 3 sequins times 25, not even going to do the math. Here's that last piece of the delicate florals. That again, it was a test piece to see how small I can make my pieces without them being too delicate. And then this one here was way too small. As you could see, the flowers just broke off all on their own. And then I just using whatever green ink I had on my blending tool. So it's not going to be the exact same green as what I already sprayed with, but it still works in the end. This one here, I couldn't get the coffee mug to work. I don't know. I did kind of like it tucked in, but then it just didn't work at all, you guys. I think it was the butterfly. It was either the coffee mug or the butterfly, and I'd rather use the butterfly for this one, because the coffee mug was just too small to cover up where I have the wood florals, kind of coming out from each other, right? Covering up the stuff. Now on these post signs, they had like directionals on them. Here's the campsite, here's this, here's that. And it works with some, but it didn't work with all of my 3x3 rounds or 3x3 squares. So I took the stickers and changed what was on the post sign, but I still was able to get a post sign out of it. So I really, really liked how that worked out. The tiny word stickers were absolutely perfect. I think I do that to a couple of them, but not all of them, because the other ones worked. I definitely did that one to the restroom one because I couldn't find a saying that was kind of cute to go with a restroom. So I definitely covered that one up. But yeah, it's just working with my supplies and having fun, you guys. I really liked the addition of the green in this for some of those 3x3 cards. But to be honest, I didn't have enough green in my scraps and in the supplies that I was trying to use up. So what I'm doing for this month, and this is just me personally, is I am attempting to product focus, and I've got a couple of them. It's not going to last all year long, but a couple items in my room are growing substantially. Like they are out of control and need to be used up, right? And so I have decided to make a list, and it's going to be a product focus. I'm going to focus on this for that month. Like every layout will have something on there. And this one here is my SAR wood pieces. I do still create a lot for my shop. These ones are all from 2023. I felt like I did really good for 2024, but for some reason, 2023, at the last half of the year, it got away from me, and I had so many pieces left over that I had to create a bin in my scrap box for all of these pieces. And that was just no way, should never have happened, in all honesty. And so what I did was I ended up divvying them up as I was creating my my scrap kits for each day, right? I was making a layout kit for each day, and I decided that's what I'm going to be doing. And then when I put this kit together, it was just meant to be, because there were so many pieces that worked really well together. I knew I was going to be doing these cluster kits. So one of the other things that I decided to add on top of what I brought in for wood grain was miscellaneous pieces, like one-offs that I found in my scrap box that seemed to be out of place and lost, like my little die-cut trees. I had no clue I had those trees. I don't know why they weren't where they were supposed to be with like my outdoor stuff or anywhere. I didn't even know I had them, in all honesty, or what project I used. I think I used them in January of last year, to be honest. I don't remember. But they were things like that that I wanted to use. So I made a little tray as I was cleaning up my scrap box, and I put that little tray right in front of me. So that way, as I'm working on these kits, I'm pulling from that tray. Let me see if those work. Let me see if this works. And so when it came to the greenery, I did not have a lot of green pieces to play with because of the fact that it was just whatever was right there. And I do have to say that it's not the only thing that I'm playing with as far as supplies go, because like the couple layouts that I've already created for the month, I definitely have to say that I have been, pulling in elements to help me tell my story, that sort of thing as well. So I'm not limiting myself to just those items. I'm just making it a goal to use those items up because they've been lost for so long. It is basically where I'm going with that. So, just making my layouts. Some of them, or not layouts, my cluster kits. No, it's not a cluster kit either. My clusters. Some of them are, like I said, I would have loved to add the greenery into all of them, but it just wasn't in the cards. I didn't have enough to go around, and it's fine. It is perfectly fine. I still think that they all turn out uber super cute. I really, really do. One of the things is that this is for Mixed Media Mayhem, and basically what Mixed Media Mayhem is where we pull out a recipe, or we create a recipe with 3 or more mixed media products. Now, they don't necessarily always have to mean make a mess. Some things about mixed media are exactly that, mixing your media, like taking vellum, tissue, and paper and using it all on one piece of paper, all on one layout. That's mixing your mediums, your medias. And then it's sometimes it's a little on the wet side, like this texture paste. Sometimes it's adding sequins for a little bit of bling. It's just mixing it up a little bit. And then of course we also try to use other people's layouts as inspiration for our mixed media. Like we find a technique that we just absolutely want to try, or we find a design that was used with mixed media that we would have never thought to use with mixed media. And so we'll pull that design in and use that as an inspiration layout, thanking the original creator for allowing us to use her layout. So we've got a wide variety. And then of course there's a Facebook group for Mixed Media Mayhem that we post. It's open. We opened the recipes for all month long, all year long, to anybody. We used to just have to where it was just Fridays. And now it is just open to all. We have all the recipes posted, and you guys can play along with us, create your products or create your layouts and post them to the group. You don't have to wait for the day of to post, by all means. That is just when we will have our videos or our Instagram posts ready and available for everybody to look at. That's the only reason why we picked the dates. Plus, it's every Friday. So Mixed Media Mayhem is done on a Friday. That way it stays consistent. That's pretty much all that, all that Mixed Media is to help those use up their supplies, or give Mixed Media a try. It's not really use up your supply, because Mixed Media is, for me, it's, oh my gosh, it multiplies like crazy. I don't know how or why, but it just really does. But yeah, it's just a chance for people to, ease into Mixed Media. And some of the recipes, like this one here, texture paste is not that bad. And then you've got sequins and paper scraps, which make it even, a little bit easier to ease into Mixed Media, as opposed to, I want you to use watercolor with alcohol ink with, modeling paste, which is the same as texture paste. And make a big old mess right off the gate. We try to not do that, so that way we can ease people into, showing them how easy Mixed Media can be, all the way up to how messy Mixed Media can be. So we like to do all the scales of Mixed Media, to be honest. And then, of course, Baby Got Scraps is a series that we do every January. And we basically clean out our scrap box every year. We clean out our scrap box. I personally like to make the page kits, so that way I know my direction instead of trying to pick the scraps as I go along. I think that would make my process a lot longer. But I go to make page kits using my scraps, and then you're allowed one piece of 12 by 12 paper, whether it's for your base, and then that way you can make a 12 by 12 layout using all your scraps, paper piece it all together, or you can use that, and then your paper scraps are so microscopically small that you are needing that base piece of paper. I try to not use the base piece unless I have to. So if I know that my scraps are going to make a perfect 12 by 12, I need a base piece to glue them together too, right? My washi tape trick is just not going to work. But if I know that they are going to overlap some, I try not to bring in that 12 by 12 piece of paper. Now, I'm not going to cheat, and that 12 by 12 piece of paper that I didn't use for that one layout, it's not going to get to roll over into the next. That's not how it works. But I do try truly to use just my scraps, you guys. This is a great challenge to start fresh in February. You get to clean it out. And I personally, if I don't use my scraps, they move out of my scrap room. I think last year I had a huge giveaway, and I went through the coordinating, what are they called? Categories that matched them. So like if I had an outdoor pile of scraps to give away, I went through my outdoor category and gave away. I did a giveaway here on YouTube to give away that specific category, because it was just too much. Sometimes I just get too much. And over the years, I have basically had to retrain myself how to shop. In all honesty, it's a serious thing, to be honest. I had to train myself that I did not need every single piece of a collection. Is it hard for me to not need? Yes, because I have FOMO so bad, which FOMO means fear of missing out. I honestly, it's a real thing. It really is. And, but I had to train myself. I really did. But I do love going through my stash, my collections, my categories. I love going through them and playing with what I bought it for, and then giving it away to somebody else and letting them make a new life out of it and enjoying it. Is it wasteful? Probably. But in all honesty, we all buy during discounts. We all buy with coupons. We all buy at a discounted price already. So I see it as I'm going to share that discount with others. It doesn't bother me one bit. And I get a lot of folks that that are kind of blown away with how much I end up giving out. But I have to keep reminding them some of this stuff is uber old. And I mean, if we're going into 2024, it could be 10 years old. It really can. And how long do you hold on to something until you finally say no more? How long? What is the time frame? Back in the day when I first started scrapbooking, and for me, the internet sales were not a thing, right? Scrapbooking online was not a thing. I only had options to, I want to say it was called Paper Pizzazz, to be honest. And I didn't have a lot of options. So I made my own paper backgrounds. I made, my own clusters. I did my own thing with what I had. And I spent a lot of my investment in tooling. So I was able to create my own clusters just like this. I started with, I don't want to say nothing, but I started with the lack of supplies. And so I felt like my good investment was tooling, which is something that I don't give away very often. So when it comes to these types of supplies, papers and embellishments and things like that, you guys, I am A-okay with using and creating a few and then gifting them away. So, all right, I see that I am almost done with these clusters. Like I said, I had a blast creating with all of these. The tiny word stickers were absolutely perfect sayings, perfect matches for all of them. I really did enjoy this process, and I used a lot of supplies when it came to creating these clusters. I used all of my trees. I used a lot of these sequins. I was super happy. I probably used half that bag. And I just put 3 sequins on each one of these clusters. It was so fun creating all of these pieces. It was fun mixing a 4th of July little wood piece, wood saying that actually made sense on a outdoorsy little cluster, like the one celebrate it, celebrate. It's like fun, in a way, celebrate life. Yeah. I also used my little wood round, that came from the embellishment box. I just added a little butterfly to it with a tiny word sticker underneath it. I didn't show it because it was so super fast and simple. And plus I can't wait to use that on another project. So here are my cute little clusters. I just had so much fun, and I know I'm going to get asked, what in the world am I going to do with all of these? I have actually put these off to the side for my outdoor monthly box that is going to be coming up. I believe it's coming up in June this time. Last year it came out in September, so I think it's going to come out in June. So keep an eye out for those. All of you that purchase a monthly box, one of these little guys will sneak its way in there. And it's just been fun. It really has been fun. All right. Don't forget to check out all the links down below. I have 2 links for Mixed Media Mayhem, and then I also have 2 links for I have several links for all the folks playing along with Baby Got Scraps down below, and I will check you guys all later. Bye.